Alright guys, welcome back. Well, I've tried this a couple times, camera issues. I actually made a whole video, camera issues, didn't like what I filmed. So I'm going to just start over again and we'll go from scratch. Now right behind me, Mustang's over there, and it's going to get primed tomorrow. I just wanted to talk about abrasives and what abrasives you want to use for getting to that point, getting the paint off. Um, most people are just like, oh yeah, you just sand it. Well, it's not that simple. There's a lot of different tools and different options that you can use, different types of abrasives you can use. And and this is no list of, oh, this is the best, and this is just what I do. What I find is the most economical for the price of the abrasive versus the speed it takes the paint and the gunk off, as well as seam sealer. And like I said, this is just what I use. It works for me, and I'll show you all the little bits and pieces. And I got my whole thing set up over here, so I have a whole bunch of stuff. So let's get into it. Okay, well, as you can see, I have a big pile of stuff here. You don't need all of it. This is just kind of show and tell. Now, what I will start off with when I'm working on the car, and I've got some video I might throw in here and there. We'll see if I can put it in there. But I'll start off with places like the drip rails. Anything that is a hard to get to spot. Now to do that, I will generally start with these. This is just a nylon. It's a nylon, rubber, plastic, whatever. It's plastic with an abrasive. It's a wheel. These are from Harbor Freight. I've gone through 5 or 6 of them. These work really well at getting seam sealer out. They work really well at getting paint off as well, especially in corners. However, you have to be careful that when you use these, when you put them in a drill, that you don't push it over so far that you bend it over like that. You want to keep everything as vertical as possible. You don't want to have any loads like that, side to side this way any more than you have to. You don't want to push down really hard because it's actually the ends of the brush that do the work. When you bend that end so far over, well, you're not getting that nice sharp edge anymore, so it doesn't work. Also, you'll want to change your direction, clockwise, counterclockwise, because these little bristles will go this way, they'll go that way, and you just want to extend the life of it. Now you'll get to the point where you've got to get into something, a little spot, just kind of just push it in there, use it, let it die off and ruin it. It's fine. The other wheel that is very similar to that is these here. This is a 3M wheel. This is a really, really thick one. So just imagine that you have one that's that thick, but obviously that big around. I don't have a full size one left. These are 3M poly abrasives, polycarbide abrasives. Everybody sells them different names. The 3M ones of these seem to be the best as far as I'm concerned. You can use these interchangeably. This is about twice the price of this. So I use this to get the majority of paint out of places and seam sealer and all that. Then I come back with this and let this finish it off. That seems to be the most economical way to do that. These run about $8 to $10, give or take. If you buy them locally, sometimes they're more expensive. These brushes, I think Harbor Freight was about $4-ish a piece. About Harbor Freight, you can get them at Northern Tool. If it looks like this, it is this. There's different sizes. The bigger ones are better for most things, but the little ones, good for tight spots. Now, speaking of that same polycarbide abrasive, you can also get that for your air tools in a roloc disc. And these are really handy. These work really well. These are a little more expensive than some other options, but you do get a decent amount of work out of it for what it is. The purple tends to hold up better than the black. I don't know what the difference is. It just seems to hold up longer. Now also with the air tools, you can get these little brushes. Okay, and this is a 3M brush. This is a knockoff. It's not as good as a 3M. They're cheaper though. and I will go through, say, 1.5 of these to every one 3M brush, but I pay so much less for these that I don't mind wearing out a brush a little more often. So these work really well. Different grits you can get them in. You can get them different sizes. You can get them. You can get larger ones. You can get smaller ones. You can get ones that are actually radial. You can even get these for your bench grinder as well. And same for the red bristle. You can get those for your bench grinder too. Now, but also with the 3M roloc discs, you can get these little Scotch-brite discs. These things are awesome for really tight spots. Work really well in the cowl, which I'll get onto next. When you're working on your cowl and you've got to get into all those little grooves, this thing is indispensable. This is essentially a brown 3M Scotch-brite kind of wheel, and you see it is a lot more flexible than the others. The black one's solid. These here will get right down into the grooves. You can do both sides. You can do the curves, just run it back and forth. And this will conform to the shape in those grooves. Just don't force it, let it do the work. I think these are actually cheaper than the black ones, but I haven't bought one in a long time, so I don't know for sure. Another method you can use is this is another Scotch-brite item. That's the word. So this is just Scotch-brite that is on edge on a grinder disc. These will remove paint. But they put a lot of heat into the panel. So I don't recommend it for removing paint. But say you've stripped your panel down to steel. You've got it at steel and you've got some little stuff on it that you don't want, or for some reason you've got surface rust on there. These work awesome for getting that surface rust and all that little stuff off of there. And these are relatively inexpensive. You buy a pack of them on Amazon, all different grits. Red, color I buy. It's like these. Green, that's the ones I buy. Again, different grits, but that's what I get. Okay, now for regular sanding, if you just want to do it the old school way, you can use your DA sander. I haven't used this thing one bit on this Mustang, so we'll put it off to the side. Now, the other method with a random orbit sander, you've got these little guys. Now, this one here, as you can see, I have a foam interface pad on there, so this will kind of contour with all the conform to the contours of the car. That's the order of the words here. Now, of these, this is really meant for a later on step, but it works for everything. It's just a little slower than the DA over there. Now, this one is the newer style because this one is Velcro. Okay? Just like your woodworking tools. Okay? So the nice thing about this is if you've got 6-inch sanders, which if you do woodworking, you should have a 6-inch sander, 5-inch sander. That's, so 1980s, 1990s. And the nice thing is the pad, your interface pads, if you have them for woodworking, they work. If you have sanding discs for woodworking, they'll work. They're not as good on the bare steel. They're not quite as good on the paint, but they do work. They will interchange. There are some differences in the abrasive types, but it works. And now you can go to the old school type of sander, where this is a peel and stick. I don't like this. I really don't. So it works. And it's just kind of the old school way of doing it, but it's still available. Now, when you're using those any of these things on the drill arbors, don't buy a good drill. I bought this at Direct Tools outlet because it was cheap. It was a damaged box, and you're going to be putting the loads on this drill that are going to kill the drill. And I don't know if you can see that, but you can hear it, and you can see the wear that's in that. And this was a drill that I bought back when I was doing a lot of the sheet metal work on the car as a replacement 3/8 drill for stuff. So don't use your good drill on it. Use something that It's just a cheapie. Buy one at a garage sale, because when you're pushing down on it, you're just putting loads into it that it's not meant for, and it's not going to last, and it's not meant to. Okay, now for your air tools, I do like these little angle grinders. I have many of them. Estate sales, garage sales, pawn shops, great place to get them. You can get them in any size you want, and if you can find, you get these little 135 or whatever that's called, angle ones. That's really handy. Hard to find these days though. Now, when you're getting into really tight spots, this is a used one, but you've got these little cartridge rolls, and that actually was a nice taper at one point. These work really good at getting into tight spots, often used for porting heads and things like that, but they work really well for that. You can also put burrs in here. Works really good for that as well. Now, for the big areas on the car, I used my Bauer surface conditioning tool. Now, it does come with these other wheels, and there's many wheels available. This red one is basically the same thing as that other Scotch-brite. This is meant for, final polishing of steel, stainless steel. It gives you a really nice, pretty finish. This one here has sandpaper in between it. Kind of the same thing. These don't really work super well on paint, and even the ones that are a pure flap sander don't work really well on paint. This type here, again, is that black poly abrasive stuff, and I have pretty much used most of that wheel. Now, people are going to use this and say, oh man, it's not cutting fast enough. They're expecting to go at it and just, take it off really fast. Well, you have to remember, on these old cars, we've got lacquer paint and we've got enamel paint. Both of them have different properties to it. Both of them, they're kind of thick, and especially on this Mustang, some of the factory paint on there was very, very thick, especially the cowl, super thick. And when you start removing it, if you were to take something that removes it really fast and is really abrasive, it's going to get gummy, because it's going to get hot, it's going to get gummy. And what this does is it moves enough air, and you don't have a full contact patch there, see, because you've got little rough spots. So what this does is it puts a whole bunch of scratches into it. So it's removing it in little scratches all over the place. And once you start working into it and you work around, you move around the panel as you're going, it will start removing. And it may not seem like a lot at first, but it does a really good job. It doesn't gum up like sandpaper does. It is a much better method to use. That said, there is a wheel that I do not have. There are several grits available, and they have a wheel that uses these same little bristles on this wheel right here. I don't have one, but if my experience with these is anything similar, if you get a wheel like this for this, I think you've got a real beast at removing paint quickly, because this will remove paint actually quite a bit faster than this will generally. And just the way it works, it actually will move more air, because you actually need air to cool it to keep it from getting too gummy. So if you're using this and you think it's a little slow, buy one of the wheels on Amazon that has these bristles on it. Give it a try. It's available in something like 36 grit to, I know there was, I want to say 200 grit or something like that, 250. There's a multitude of grits that you can get these for these Bauer tools. So I would give that a try if you think it's going too slow. And like I said, I haven't bought one because basically I'm done with that. I've got the trunk lid to do. That's it. I'm just not going to spend the money to buy one. So hopefully that'll help you out getting started. I did do some abrasive blasting. I am going to do abrasive blasting in a separate short video, because I'm going to do the pressure pot blasting, cabinet blasting, handheld blasting, as well as blasting with wet blasting with a pressure washer. So I'll have to get that put together. But for right now, That's kind of just the general usage of them. There's, like I said, a lot of other ways to do it. This works. The only thing I will add is for some tiny spots, you will want to use a very small diameter wire brush. Find the stiffest wire brushes you can, not the really soft ones. The stiffer ones are harder to find, and use them, but I do not use them very much because wire brushes will tend to burnish the surface, and you have to go back and resand it and kind of remove that burnishing uh, before you can have good adhesion. So it's an extra step in there. And wire brushes, they throw little wires, they get stuck in your arm, and they're a mess to deal with. If you can avoid it, avoid wire brushes. So at this point, I'm this is not quite the video I wanted to do, but I hope you find it helpful. And I'll put some videos at the end of this showing the processes of some of this removal and how it works and how well it works. So I'm going to get on to tinting this over here. I've got to retint this. I blew it out yesterday, got all the dust out, and it was a storm of dust going out the door. So I'm going to get it tinted, go back and double check if there's anything I need to resand, rescuff, and I'm going to be spending a lot of time cleaning, and hopefully tomorrow I will actually get primer shot on the entire car. And then Thursday I plan to paint the bottom of the car black, as well as the front end of the car black, everything for the firewall. So yeah, that's where we're at, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time. All right, I just wanted to do a little show of how much dirt and gunk that all this grinding makes. And to be honest, this makes more of a mess